Hey guys, welcome Under the Covers. This is a thing I'm hoping to turn into a series. I thought it could be quite interesting to show you guys some aspects of the covers that I do, kind of give a bit of a behind the scenes in how I approach arranging them, or like giving them bits of tweaks and making them my own, or making it work with the kind of style that I'm doing. And I thought I'd start with my most recent cover, Señorita, originally by Shawn Mendes. The element that I thought we'd explore for this one is the bass line, which to me is a very prominent feature throughout the original track, so I wanted to represent that in my version, but I found that I was going to have to make a tweak to it. Now, as someone who is mainly a guitar player, but obviously I play bass on my tracks and I sort out the drum arrangements and all this, I always kind of worry about being a typical guitarist or single instrument focused player, in that you kind of give a lot of your attention to that main instrument and then the other things are just left basic. So you'll have like a basic drum beat for the bass line. You may just follow the chords and that would be it, just a dun 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 kind of thing. So I always try to approach it with a bit more interest than that. So I originally did try using the original bass line throughout my version of the song, but I found it didn't sit well with the kind of feeling and the groove that I ended up giving it, that being a very Disturbed inspired sound, which I think I mentioned in the original video was inspired by me just messing around, having the song stuck in my head and changing the ooh la 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 bit to a Disturbed ooh ah 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 kind of thing. But anyway, let's get to it. So the original bass line, for those familiar with the song will already know, is essentially it plays that all the way through. Similarly with the guitar, I have to add a little tidbit here. The guitar follows the same chords all the way through. So again, to make that a bit more interesting, I changed things around by adding kind of basic palm muting and then having the open kind of strings, kind of staccato rhythmic strumming. But anyway, going back to the bass. So with that pattern of didn't fit well with the groove that I was giving my version of the song. So I had to think of a way to make it work, but I didn't want to lose any of the kind of melody that that bass line has. So I didn't want to just have it to me that would just be a bit too boring. Like I say, I wanted to keep the all those kind of runs and that. So the change that I made is a pretty easy choice to make, but essentially I got it to follow the guitar strumming pattern from the chorus. So played slow is now, I played that slow because, being a less experienced bass player anyway, I love playing bass with my fingers. I really like the sound of it, but I can't play the speed that is needed for the tempo of my cover version using my fingers for that pattern. So I did actually turn to a pick. Now, I've got nothing against playing bass with picks. I would prefer to play with fingers, but kind of a needs must. I'd have had to put in a lot of practice, and I would have had to put the cover song release off for quite a while to put in enough practice to get up to speed. Something I'm going to be practicing doing, but still. So for the sake of not delaying things too much. Also the sound obviously changes between using your fingers or a pick. So you've got verses, And I actually found that that tone worked really well with my cover anyway, so I more than likely would have ended up using a pick even if I could have got the speed up with my fingers. But to play at speed, using the pick, so... One of the other changes that I made is kind of going back on what I said before, and that was that I just used the root notes of the chord, so doing that. But the argument being is that I thought it actually complemented the section of the songs well to use that as it built up to the chorus. So the bigger change comes for the main riff slash chorus. Because it's a heavier sound, it's the louder part of the song, and I'm doing it in a more heavy rock metal style. I thought, one, it might seem a bit boring to just keep repeating the same thing on the bass anyway, to make things a bit more interesting for me as a player, and to keep people's attention up listening back to it so they're not just hearing the same thing over and over. I wanted to make a change, and I thought, as I now have a 5-string bass, for those who haven't followed, this is the first song that I've done on the channel using this bass. So we got the extra B string, so I thought, well, we could make use of that to kind of thicken out the sound as well as it gets to those heavier parts. So working it out, essentially what I've done is quite simple in that I've dropped a lot of things by an octave, but not everything. I've not transposed everything down, and I've not just moved everything one octave lower. I couldn't do that anyway. So I've done elements of it. So where you have the start of the bass line, I've taken that E and I've moved it down an octave. So you have followed by that run of, which all that is dropped down an octave too. This is actually wrong. I didn't realise until I got to this point in the editing of this video that I didn't drop it down an octave. I actually dropped it down a fifth. So I'll quickly show right now by way of this. Really hugely professional, I know, but bear with me. So whereas the original run actually goes from A, G, E, D, I drop it down to D, C, A, G. To me it works really well, and it's definitely not an octave, but either way, correction made. Continue on with the video. So you have with the next part all drop down an octave. For the next part, I treated it just like the very first section of taking the second note and moving it down an octave. So this one did the same again. So instead of, it goes instead. Now, a lot of that tends to be lost for most of the song because it's got that dun 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 for the ooh la 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 ooh wah ah ah bit. So it's just. For the second run in the melody, originally it would go. For that, I again moved half of it down an octave to do the. So for that whole section, you'd have. But again, most of that is altered to work for the chorus melody, so it just plays a. And for the ending part of it, it is just exactly the same too. So in full, the chorus goes like this. obviously it's not something that's hugely complex that I've done in making alterations for my version, but I thought it might be of interest to some people, even if it's just coming here to find out what the original bass line was. Anything you take away from this as a point of interest is fantastic, so hopefully it is of interest in some way, shape or form. This, like I say, this is something that I would like to do more of. I don't know if I'll do it for every single one of my covers or if I'll kind of pick and choose, but we'll see how things go. It is something that I'd like to continue on down the line. So do please let me know if there are any kind of particular songs you'd like me to delve into, or any particular parts of songs you'd like to learn how I approach them. It'd be great to hear back, and let me know what you think of this video and the series idea in general. Again, you can let me know your ideas down in the comments. You can hit me up over on Twitter. Same with, again, if you want to make suggestions for other cover songs. Always happy to listen. Otherwise, thank you guys very much, and I shall see you in the next video. Lazy bye.